Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to this, our second quiz night or trivia night. And you're all very welcome. I know that some of you are back again for more punishment this week. So by popular demand, here we are again. So it's great to have you out there. And I know that there's also some newcomers. And we know that so far we have people here from Portugal, from Ireland, from the UK, from Italy, from Kenya, at least, and I think there will be people joining us from other places as well. So my name is Ned Dwyer, and Carmel Sharkey is behind the scenes here. She's keeping the chat going and monitoring things from the kitchen. I'm in the living room here. We're in Carcavelos, a small town just outside Lisbon in Portugal. And we're looking forward to this quiz night with you, and we hope you have a bit of fun over the next hour and 15 minutes or so. So you can use the live chat, which is below the main screen or beside it, depending on your configuration. So please tell us who you are. Please tell us where you're checking in from. And yes, hopefully you'll have a bit of fun. So how is this going to work? Basically, it's low-tech meets high-tech. So the high-tech part is the fact that I'm sitting here in the comfort of my own home asking you questions, and you're based in all parts of the world, it seems. The low-tech part is the fact that you better get yourself a pen and paper, because you're going to have to note down the answers to the questions I ask. So there's no submission of the answers online. There's no checking of the answers by us centrally. There's no big brother in this. So we're trusting that you will play fairly yourself. Nothing stopping you Googling or getting out the encyclopedia if there's an answer you don't know. So please make sure you have some pen and paper so that you can note down your answers and keep track as you go along. So we're going to have 6 rounds of questions tonight. And we'll have 3 rounds of 10 questions, then we'll have a break of a few minutes, and then we'll have 3 more rounds. So we'll start with the general knowledge round, then we have music and entertainment, and the last one before the break is logos and flags, so a picture round. So hopefully you can all actually see your screen. After the break, we'll have a sports round, then science and technology, and to finish off, general knowledge. So we should be done in about an hour and 15 minutes. So for those of you checking in from Ireland, we should have you ready for the 9 o'clock news at the latest, so that you won't miss the latest goings on around the world. And just one thing on the chat, please do not post your answers in there. I will turn the chat off when I'm asking the questions, just to discourage you a little bit, but please don't spoil it for anybody else. By putting the answers into the chat. Just make a note of them yourself at home on paper or electronically or however. So, as I said, this is meant to be a bit of fun for everybody. However, there is a serious side to it as well. We are organizing this quiz to support Brighter Communities Worldwide, a charity with whom myself and Carmel have been volunteering over the last 11 or 12 years now, and they do development work in Kenya. And we will fill you in a little bit more on the activities they do during the break with a short 3-minute video. So I think that's about all of the introductions that I need. So I'm just going to turn the chat off for the moment. Okay, so the live chat is off. You can still type into the chat, but we won't actually see what you say until break time. So I think we're pretty much ready to go. So as well as seeing me tonight, we have some special guests who will be asking you some of the questions. So stand by to see who's going to appear on your screen a little later on this evening. Okay, so, oops. This is what I get for trying things out in advance. I'm not actually at the right place in my question sheet. So let's try again. Okay, so the first round is a general knowledge round. And round one, question one, the first question is, I'm 41 in Portugal, I'm 7 in Ireland, and I'm 26 in Japan. What am I? So I'm 41 in Portugal, 7 in Ireland, and 26 in Japan. What am I? Okay. So question two, maybe a little easier. What kind of pastry is used to make an eclair? What kind of pastry is used to make an eclair? Question three. Vasco da Gama is credited with finding a sea route from Europe to India. In what year did he leave on his first voyage from Lisbon to India? Was it 1397, 1497, or 1597? So Vasco da Gama is credited with finding a sea route from Europe to India. In what year did he leave on his first voyage from Lisbon? 1397, 1497, or 1597? Okay, question four. Insane Mole. It's an anagram of the name of a famous Irish actor who was nominated for an Oscar for his role in the 1993 film Schindler's List, and he's still acting today. What is the actor's name? So Insane Mole, the letters, it's an anagram, so by mixing them up you can reform his name. It's a famous Irish actor. He was nominated for an Oscar for Schindler's List. He's still acting, so what's his name? Question 5. A viola is a musical instrument. What else is a viola? A viola is a musical instrument. What else is a viola? Question 6. What's the name of the current Prime Minister of New Zealand? Somebody who's been in the news, I guess, quite a lot over the last number of months. The name of the current Prime Minister of New Zealand. Question 7. How many islands are there in the Azores archipelago? How many islands are there in the Azores archipelago? Question 8. We have our first guest for tonight, so I'd like to welcome John to ask us question number 8.
My name is John Sawe, working with Brighter Communities Worldwide. I am a coordinator of remote emergency care and also a driver. And here is the question. Kenya is bordered by how many countries?
Thank you, John. So John asked us how many countries border Kenya, and for an extra point, can you actually name them? So if you can name the countries, you get an extra point. Question 9. If you were eating farfalle, what would you be eating? So what kind of food is farfalle? And the last question in this round is, what well-known Irish writer died in Zurich in 1941? What well-known Irish writer died in Zurich in 1941? Okay, so that's the end of round 1. So let's look back at the questions. I've just summarized them here on 2 pages. So in case you've missed any of the questions, you can just again check what it was. So I just run through them quickly. So I'm 43 in Portugal, 9 in Ireland, and 28 in Japan. What am I? Question 2, what kind of pastry is used to make an eclair? Question 3 was Vasco da Gama's first trip to India left Lisbon in 1397, 1497, or 1597. Then we have Insane Mole. It's an anagram of what famous Irish actor? A viola is a musical instrument, and what else is a viola? Question 6 was the name of the current Prime Minister of New Zealand. Question 7 was, if you were eating farfalle, what would you be eating? Question 8 from John was, can you tell us how many countries Kenya is bordered by? And for an extra point, can you name those countries? So all of the countries. Question 9 was, how many islands are there in the Azores archipelago? And question 10, what well-known Irish writer died in Zurich in 1941? And by the way, if you are missing questions or you've come late to the quiz, you can always rewind. Even though we're broadcasting live, you can just rewind it to the beginning so that you don't miss anything. So it means you'll be a few minutes behind the rest of us, but it doesn't really matter, I guess. Okay, so hopefully you're all warmed up now and ready for round number 2, which is our music and entertainment round, which certainly is the one I'm usually the worst at and the one that Carmel's often the best at. So hopefully you have somebody around your table that's good on the music and entertainment. So let's see what's in store for us in this round. So question number 1. Riverdance was first performed in what year? So I guess Riverdance has kind of toured around the world, so many of you should know what it is. But can you tell us what year was its first performance? Okay, number 2. Adagio is an Italian word used to describe the tempo in a piece of music. What does adagio mean? So adagio is an Italian word used to describe the tempo in a piece of music. What does it actually mean? Question 3. Some of us, I think, are showing our age here. The band ELO were popular in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and they're still performing today. So what does ELO actually stand for? So the band ELO have been on the go pretty much since the 1970s, but what does ELO stand for? The aria Nessun Dorma from the opera Turandot is by which composer? The aria Nessun Dorma from the opera Turandot is by which composer? So many of you will know the piece of music or can hear it in your head, but who actually composed it? Question 5. In which country would you hear fado music? In which country would you hear fado music? What's a style of music? Question 6. What is the name of Fonse's big Latin hit of 2017? So again, when you hear the answer, you'll be kicking yourself saying, oh yes. So what is the name of Fonse's big Latin hit from 3 years ago now, 2017? So one of those summer songs that we often hear. Question 7. Who duetted with Ed Sheeran on the song I Don't Care in 2019? Who duetted with Ed Sheeran on the song I Don't Care in 2019? Question 8. John Prine sang what type of music? So the style or the genre we're looking for here. John Prine sang what type of music? Question 9 on the music round. How many times has Ireland won the Eurovision Song Contest? Yep, kind of a tricky one to get the number right, but how many times has Ireland won the Eurovision Song Contest? And it's more than one. And our last question in the music round. The song Big Yellow Taxi was originally recorded by Joni Mitchell in 1970. Who re-recorded it in 2002? So I think this one is for some of you music buffs out there. Big Yellow Taxi, a Joni Mitchell song from 1970, re-recorded in 2002 by whom? Okay, so that's our music round. Let's have a recap of the questions. And I hope there was something to suit everybody. There was a mix there from pop to classical to country even, and different decades as well. So hopefully, again, if you have younger and older people in your team, you might be able to get more of them. So we started with Riverdance was first performed in what year? Question 2 was Adagio is the Italian word used to describe the tempo in a piece of music, but what does it actually mean? Then the band ELO, which has been on the go since the 1970s, what does ELO stand for? The aria Nessun Dorma from the opera Turandot is by which composer? Question 5 was in which country would you hear fado music? Question 6, can you name Fonzie's big Latin hit from 2017? Question 7 was who duetted with Ed Sheeran on the song I Don't Care in 2019? Question 8 was John Prine sang what type of music? Question 9, how many times has Ireland won the Eurovision Song Contest? And the final question in the music round was the song Big Yellow Taxi was originally recorded by Joni Mitchell in 1970, who re-recorded it in 2002. Okay, so that's our music round. So as I said before, if you've missed any of the questions or you joined us a bit late, you can always rewind on YouTube. Even though we're broadcasting live, you can kind of pull the thing back to the start and you'll have missed nothing in that case. It'll just mean you're a few minutes behind the rest of us. Okay, so let's move on to round 3, which is our last round before we'll take a short break. This is a logo and flag round. So make sure that you're able to see the screen for this one because it's essentially a picture round. And okay, let's make a start. So this is our first logo. I want to know which organization or which logo does this represent? Okay, number 2. Which organization or what product does this logo belong to? Question 3 is one of our flags. So which country's flag is this? Question 4, another logo. So which organization or product does this logo represent? Question 5, which product or organization does this logo represent? Okay. Another flag. So which country's flag is shown on the screen at the moment? It's red with a white cross. Question 7. Which product or organization is this logo? And a small hint is there's some letters that are usually with this logo there, they've been erased. So which product or organization is this logo belong to? Question 8. Which product or logo does this symbol belong to? Essentially a blue cross on a blue circle. And question 9. Which product or organization is this logo belong to? And the final question in our picture round is this logo. To whom does this logo or symbol belong? Which organization or which product? Okay, so that's our symbols round. So again, I've put all of them here on this slide so that you can have a quick overview in case there's any of them that you missed. The logos and the flags there. So have a quick look in case there's one or two that you're not so familiar with before we move on. Okay, so that's the end of round 3. That's the end of the first part of the quiz. So hopefully you've got all your answers down. So what we'd like to do now is just show you a 3-minute video on Brighter Communities Worldwide to give you a little bit of background as to why we're organizing this quiz and also as to what Brighter Communities does. After that, I'll give you the answers to the first 3 rounds of questions, and then we just take a very short break of about 3 minutes, and then we'll start again. So let's start with the video of Brighter Communities Worldwide.
Hello everybody, how are you? Carmel here for those of you that don't know me. First of all, thank you so much for joining Ned and I in our sitting room this evening to participate in the table quiz. We're enjoying having you. I'd just like to tell you a little bit about Brighter Communities Worldwide, BCW. Brighter Communities Worldwide work primarily in Western Kenya, working with the local communities, aiming to improve their lives and their living conditions. So this part of Western Kenya is very rural, it's very green and hilly. And Ned and I have volunteered 3 times with BCW, and we've been involved in many different projects. We've been involved in a lot of construction projects, both in schools and in the community, in building latrines and washrooms, especially in the schools, to enable the girls to be able to continue at school. We've also worked with the teachers and the pupils in both primary and secondary schools to make their environments safer and healthier. We've been involved in the installation of rainwater collection tanks, and this has been a great benefit to people because the women and girls have to walk very long distances to collect water and carry it home, as well as collecting wood. In Kenya, households normally cook and heat their house on a traditional 3-stone system, and this is a very costly system because it uses a lot of wood, and it also creates a lot of smoke in the house, which is very dangerous and very hazardous for health and for accidents and burns. So the Brighter Communities Worldwide have worked with the community and developed a smokeless stove, and this has been a huge benefit to women and households. and the delight and the joy on their faces when we work together and build this stove with the chimney. It's just fantastic. So those are just a few examples of the projects that we've been involved with. And BCW are responding to the COVID crisis. And I'm going to hand you over to Florence now, and she's going to tell you what they're actually doing.
My name is Florence Maritim. I'm the Monitoring, Evaluations and Learning Coordinator at Brighter Communities Worldwide. Since the COVID-19 crisis was announced in Kenya, our organization adopted our activities to support our communities through this crisis. And this is in the distribution of tippy-tappies, hand washing soap, and information packets to enable them know what they need to do to stay safe through this crisis. And so my current role is to support in the distribution of the tippy-tappies, the soaps, and the information packets.
So thank you, Carmel, and thank you, Florence, for giving some insights into what Brighter Communities Worldwide does and how it's responding to the current COVID crisis. And if you look in the description part below this video, you'll see we've clipped in some links to donation sites. So I know that it's a tough time for many people, and many of you are helping other organizations at the moment. However, if you are in a position to support Brighter's communities, they would be delighted with anything you can get. It's a very challenging time for fundraising for many charities. So the links are there in the description below this video if you are in a position to donate. Every euro or dollar or Kenyan shilling is definitely welcome. So let's get back to the quiz. We just had somebody let us know that on question 1 in round 1, which was regarding the numbers which were 41 in Portugal, 7 in Ireland, and 26 in Japan. On the summary sheet, the numbers were different, and that is correct. However, the answer is the same, but the numbers we're sticking with are 41, 7, and 26. So very observant out there. So let's get on with the answers to round 1, general knowledge. So yes, the question was, what's 41 in Portugal, 7 in Ireland, and 26 in Japan? These are shoe sizes. So who knew there were so many different ways of looking at shoes? Second answer was, what kind of pastry is used to make an éclair? It's a choux pastry. So for all you bakers out there and French people, I think that was an easy one. Question 3 was the one on Vasco da Gama. So we tried to simplify it by giving you 3 different centuries, and the year he left Lisbon was in 1497. And if you happen to be in Lisbon, you can come and see his tomb in the Jeronimus Monastery just outside the city. So it's a really nice place to visit if and when you have the chance. The insane mole was an anagram of Liam Neeson. Tricky enough question, I think. However, Schindler's List may have been a giveaway for any of you who saw that movie many years ago now. So Liam Neeson is the insane mole. Question 5, a viola, as well as being a musical instrument, it's a flower. It's a small flower, I suppose, like a mini pansy. Question 6, the Prime Minister of New Zealand is Jacinda Ardern, who's been in the news quite a lot recently. Question 7, the number of islands in the Azores archipelago. There's 9 major islands, and then there's a number of rocks. Again, if you do have a chance to ever go to the Azores, we certainly recommend it. I've had the opportunity to go a few times now from Lisbon, and it's a beautiful place. You could say it's Ireland in the semi-tropics. It's very green, lots of Frisian cows, but a very pretty place. And our next one was, Kenya is bordered by how many countries? And can you name them? So let's check in with John.
The answer is Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia, Tanzania, and Uganda.
Thank you, John. So, whoops. So there was 5 countries, as John said, and they were Somalia, Ethiopia, Sudan, Uganda, and Tanzania. So you get 1 point for getting 5, and you get another point if you get the 5 country names as well. Question 9. If you were eating farfalle, what would you be eating? You would be eating a pasta. So it's the one that looks a little bit like butterfly wings. So farfalle is Italian for butterflies. So that's pasta was the answer. And the last question was, what well-known Irish writer died in Zurich in 1941? That is James Joyce, and he's buried in a graveyard in Zurich. And again, if you go there, you can go and visit. Okay, round 2 was the music and entertainment round. Let's see how you got on. Just let me turn the live chat on again so that you can post how you're doing. Let us know your scores. Please don't post any answers in there, but you can certainly tell us how you're getting on. We'd love to hear. Let us know if you thought the questions are tricky or easy. So, music. Riverdance was first performed in 1994. So I think it celebrated 25 years last year. Adagio means slow in Italian, or at least in musical terminology. The band ELO, it means Electric Light Orchestra. So many of you probably know ELO, but you may not have known what it meant. Puccini is the composer of the opera Turandot, from which Nessun Dorma came, and that was basically the aria sung by the 3 tenors. First kind of became famous in the 1990 World Cup. Portugal is where you would hear fado music. So again, if you're in Lisbon to see Vasco da Gama's tomb, please make sure that you listen to some fado while you're here as well. It's quite a plaintive music. I like it a lot. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but certainly if you're visiting, you should listen out for it. Question 6. Fonzie's big Latin hit of 2017 was Despacito. So again, a very jolly tune, I would say, and many of you will remember that, Despacito. Question 7. Ed Sheeran duetted with Justin Bieber. Not that was something I knew before we put these questions together. Question 8. John Prine sang what type of music? It was American country folk. So I think if you put country music, folk music, it's all good. And in this round, the last question was, how many times has Ireland won the Eurovision Song Contest? It's 7 times. So the live chat, should be enabled. Carmel is telling me that it didn't seem to be, but at least at my end it's saying it is, so let's hope for the best. And question 10, yes, Big Yellow Taxi, it was re-recorded by Counting Crows in 2002. So that's the name of the band that re-recorded Big Yellow Taxi. Great. So round 3 was name that logo or flag. So let's have a look at what we had here. So the first one was BP, British Petroleum, and some of you will remember that from passing through garages to get your petrol. Question 2, this is ASICS, so many of you may be wearing their runners or using their sports gear. Question 3 was the flag. This is the flag of Ivory Coast, so hopefully you didn't glance too quickly and write down Ireland. Ireland's flag is green, white and orange, or gold as well, except it's the other way around. Green is nearest the flagpole. In the Ivory Coast, the orange colour is nearest the flagpole. Question 4, this was Vodafone, which is possibly an easy one. Number 5, this is the logo for Maserati, so any of you car buffs out there should have got this one. Question 6, this was the flag of Denmark, a white cross on a red background. Question 7, this was Pizza Hut. So usually Pizza Hut is written between the hat and the little yellow streak, so it may have been a bit trickier without that. Question 8, this is the symbol for NATO, or OTAN in French, depending on where you come from. So the NATO symbol. Question 9 was Giorgio Armani, and maybe the GA in there is a bit of a giveaway. Giorgio Armani, fashion brand. And the last question, the World Health Organization. So they've been in the news a lot recently, so hopefully you spotted the serpent in the center of that, which is the health symbol. So there we go. That is the end of our first 3 rounds. So we're just going to take a really quick break of about 3 minutes. So go and refill your glasses, stretch your legs, sharpen your pencils for the next 3 rounds. So we'll see you in about 3 minutes. Okay, so welcome back. And I'm wondering if some of those are too easy. We're getting great scores in here. We're getting 25s and 24s. We're getting 9, 6, and 8. So yeah, people are doing pretty good out there. But there's a few of them catching you out, which is good to know. We don't want you answering absolutely everything. So we're ready now to start on round number 4. Round number 4 is our sporting round. And I'm just going to turn off the live chat before we get into this. So just turning that off for the moment. We'll turn it on again near the end. Okay, so this is our sporting round. So hopefully you're all ready. So let's get going. Question 1. In which city are the 2024 Summer Olympic Games scheduled to be held? So in which city are the 2024 Summer Olympic Games scheduled to be held? Question 2. In what sport is the scoring 15, 30, 40 game? So in what sport is the scoring 15, 30, 40 game? Question 3. Name a sport in which the contestants cross the finish line backwards. And there's 2 acceptable answers and a third which we can discuss. So name a sport in which the contestants cross the finish line backwards. Question 4. Ayrton Senna died in a Formula One car accident in 1992. So which race was it? Ayrton Senna died in a Formula One car accident in 1992. Which race was it? As in, which one of the Grand Prix was it? Question 5. In golfing terminology, what's a bogey? And I think Martin out there is a golfer, so this should be an easy one for him. In golfing terminology, what's a bogey? Question 6. In what sport is the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe awarded? So, in what sport is the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe awarded? Question 7. 2 Italian Serie A football teams are based in Rome. One is AC Roma. What's the name of the other? 2 Italian Serie A football teams are based in Rome. One is AC Roma. What's the name of the other one? Question 8, we have another guest asking question number 8. So I'd like to ask Salim to ask the next question.
Hi, I am Salim Koske, working with Brighter Communities Worldwide. I'm a field officer in economic empowerment. And here is the questions. What is the distance of a full marathon to the nearest kilometer/mile?
So thank you, Salim. Salim's question was, what's the distance of a full marathon to the nearest kilometer or mile? Question number 9. Real Madrid has won the most Champions League titles. Is it 10, 13, or 15? So Real Madrid has won the most Champions League titles. Is it 10, 13, or 15? And the final question in the sports round, number 10, is how many players in a basketball team can be on the court at any one time? How many players in a basketball team can be on the court at any one time? Okay. So let's recap quickly the sports questions. So question 1 was, in which city are the 2024 Summer Olympic Games scheduled to be held? Question 2, in what sport is the scoring 15, 30, 40 game? Then name a sport in which the contestants cross the finish line backwards. Ayrton Senna died in a Formula 1 accident in 1992. Which race was it? In golfing terminology, what's a bogey? Question 6. In what sport is the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe awarded? 2 Italian Serie A football teams are based in Rome. One is AC Roma, and what's the name of the other? Then Salim asked the question, what's the distance of a full marathon to the nearest kilometre or mile? Question 9. Real Madrid has won the most Champions League titles. Was it 10, 13 or 15? And how many players in a basketball team can be on the court at any one time? Okay, so our next round, round number 5, is science and technology. Okay, so we're ready to go? Let's start. Question 1. CH4 is the chemical symbol for what well-known gas? CH4 is the chemical symbol for what well-known gas? Question 2. In computer science, what do Mint, Ubuntu, and Zorin have in common? In computer science, what do Mint, Ubuntu, and Zorin have in common? Question 3. On a bag of fertilizer for your plants, you might see the letters N, P, K. What does K stand for? So on a bag or a box of fertilizer for your plants, you might see the letters N, P, K. What does K stand for? Question 4. Question 4 is a medical question, so let's call on the medic in the house to ask this particular question.
Okay, so the question is, if I have glaucoma, what part of my body would be affected?
Okay, so thank you, Carmel. If I had glaucoma, what part of my body would be affected? Question 5. What's the number 3.1416 commonly known as? What is the number 3.1416 commonly known as? Question 6. What do the letters FM stand for in relation to radio? What do the letters FM stand for in relation to radio? Question 7. Must be another medical question, so I think we better call on Nurse Sharkey again to ask this question.
Thanks, Ned. So, next question is, what is the common name for a part of the body known as the calcaneus?
Thank you, Carmel. Carmel's question was, what's the common name for a part of the body known as the calcaneus? So any of you nursing or medical people should get that one. Question 8. In a computer file name, what do the letters PDF stand for? So many of you will be familiar with those letters, but what do they mean, PDF on a file name? Question 9. In the hopefully well-known formula E equals mc squared, what does the letter C stand for? Or what does it represent? In the formula E equals mc squared, what does the letter C stand for? And the final question in the science and technology rounds is, how many characters are allowed in a tweet? Or what's the maximum number of characters we can put in a tweet? Okay, so that's the 10 questions in science and technology. So let's have a quick recap. Question 1 was CH4 is the chemical symbol for what well-known gas? Question 2 was in computer science, what do Mint, Ubuntu and Zorin have in common? Oops, the common is gone. Question 3, on a bag of fertilizer or a box of fertilizer for your plants, you might see the letters N, P, K. And what does the K stand for? Then Carmel asked us if we had glaucoma, what part of the body would be affected? Question 5 was what's the number 3.1416, more commonly known as? Question 6 was what do the letters FM stand for in relation to radio? Carmel then asked us what's the common name for a part of the body known as the calcaneus? Question 8 was in a computer file name, what do the letters PDF stand for? Question 9, in the formula E equals mc squared, what does the letter C stand for? And finally, how many characters are allowed in a tweet? So that's the end of round 5. So we just have one round left in our quiz tonight. So hopefully you're all doing well. Everything is firing on all cylinders. And let's see how you all get on in our last general knowledge round. Okay, so let's start. Question 1. Where is the archaeological site Petra located? Or which country is the archaeological site Petra located? Question 2. The Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, is from which country? So the Director General of the World Health Organization, and I'm not going to try his name a second time, is from which country? You may have seen him on your TV screens recently. In English, what is anthropophagy better known as? So in the English language, what is anthropophagy better known as? Question 4. What's the name of the country formerly called Ceylon? What's the name of the country formerly called Ceylon? Question 5. Who succeeded George H.W. Bush as United States President in 1993? Who succeeded George H.W. Bush as United States President in 1993? Question 6. Who is the author of the book War and Peace, which was first published in 1865? Who is the author of the book War and Peace, first published in 1865? Question 7. Who was married to Chris Humphreys for only 72 days and is now married to Kane West? Who was married to Chris Humphreys for only 72 days and is now married to Kane West? Question 8. We have another guest for this question. So I'm going to ask Florence, who you heard from during the break, to ask this question.
The question is, the Kenyan actress Lupita Nyong'o won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in 2014 in her performance in which film?
Thank you, Florence. So Florence's question was the Kenyan actress Lupita Nyong'o won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in 2014 for her performance in which film? Question 9. The European Union's anthem, Ode to Joy, is part of a symphony by which composer? The European Union's anthem, Ode to Joy, is part of a symphony by which composer? So we just want the composer's name. And our final question for the night. If I were climbing Kilimanjaro, which country would I be in? If I were climbing Kilimanjaro, which country would I be in? Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the questions in the last round, or general knowledge round. So question 1 was, in which country is the archaeological site Petra located? Question 2 was, can you tell us which country the Director General of the World Health Organization is from? Question 3 was, in English, what is anthropophagy better known as? Question 4 is, what's the name of the country formerly called Ceylon? Question 5 was, who succeeded George H.W. Bush as United States President in 1993? Question 6 was, who is the author of the book War and Peace, which was first published in 1865? Question 7, who was married to Chris Humphreys for only 72 days and is now married to Kanye West? Question 8, the Kenyan actress Lupita Nyong'o won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in 2014 for her performance in which film? Question 9 was, the European Union's anthem, Ode to Joy, is part of a symphony by which composer? And finally, question 10 was, if I were climbing Kilimanjaro, which country would I be in? Okay, so that brings to the end all of our questions for tonight. So just take a moment there to quickly see how you've have you got the answers to all of them, or if you have to think about one or two of them. And in the meantime, I'll just turn the chat back on so you can let us know how you're getting on. But please do not post any of the answers yet. It's not fair to others. So just to keep the fun in it for everybody. So hopefully the chat should now be on, so you can let us know how you're getting on, if you like the questions or not. As Larry Gogan used to say, oh, they didn't suit me. Hopefully most of them suited you, but not all of them. And yes, we'll start on the answers now in a minute. Okay, just give you another 10 seconds or so. Okay, let's make a start on this round 4. Okay, round 4 was our sports round. Let's see how this one went. Okay, so 2024, the Summer Olympic Games are scheduled to be held in Paris, and let's hope they don't suffer the same fate as Tokyo this year. So Paris was the answer. Question 2, in what sport is the scoring 15, 30, 40 game? It's tennis. So I think for many of you that should have been a straightforward one. Question 3. Name a sport in which the contestants cross the finish line backwards. So rowing is one, swimming, so backstroke, is another, and I put tug of war in brackets because if you Google this one, you get some suggestions that maybe a tug of war can also be considered, although it's a moot point. You don't exactly cross the finishing line backwards. You pull the other guys over the line, I guess. So really, rowing or swimming, either of those answers will have got you the point. If you put tug of war, fair enough. You guys can just decide yourselves whether it's a valid answer or not. Question 4 was, Ayrton Senna died in a Formula 1 car accident in 1992. It was the San Marino Grand Prix. So San Marino, which is a small state inside of Italy. So that's where that accident occurred. Question 5, in golfing terminology, what's a bogey? A bogey is 1 over par. Now, I don't play golf, but par is basically the number of shots that it should take to get the ball in the hole. So you might have a par 3, which means that it should take 3 shots to get the ball in the hole. If it takes you 4 shots, then you're said to have made a bogey. You are 1 more than the expected number. Question 6, the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe is for horse racing. It's a race held in Paris in, I think, October. It's a flat race and it's horse racing. Then we had question 7, the Italian teams based in Rome. We have ACU Roma, and then Lazio is the other team based in Rome. So easy for any of those Italians or anybody living in Italy out there, or football fans. Question 8 was asked by Salim, so let's check in with him to find the answer to this one.
The answer is 42 kilometers or 26 miles.
Thank you, Salim. So the answer was 42 kilometers or 26 miles. Although if you've run that distance and you still have a few hundred meters or yards to go, they can be the hardest, having got that far. But for the quiz, we would have accepted 42 kilometers or 26 miles. So question 9, Real Madrid has won the most Champions League titles, and it's 13 they've won so far. And question 10, the number of players in a basketball team that can be on a court at any one time is 5. I think you can have up to 12 actually on the team. I'm not completely sure, but on the court at any one time, you can have 5. Okay, so that's the end of round 4. So you can post your scores on the doors or on the live stream if you like. And yes, science and technology was next. So let's see how everybody did with this one. CH4 is the chemical symbol for methane. So the gas methane, CH4. Question 2, in computer science, Mint, Ubuntu, and Zorin are all flavors of the Linux operating system. So that's what they are. Linux is a Unix operating system for those of you who are not into computers in a big way. Question 3, on the bag of fertilizer, NPK, it's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So K stands for the potassium. Then we had question 4, and let's ask Carmel what the answer to this one was.
So the question I asked earlier was, if I had glaucoma, what part of my body would be affected? And the answer is my eye.
Okay, so the answer to that one was the eye, if you had glaucoma. And 3.1416 is known as pi. So I guess many of us hopefully remember that from school if we're still not in school. Then the next question was FM is frequency modulation. So many of you will be familiar with listening to FM on your radio, although I guess now with digital radio on the internet, less and less of us are actually using a real radio. But FM is frequency modulation. Question 7, let's ask Carmel what the answer to this question was.
So the question was, what is the common name for a part of the body known as the calcaneus? Did you get it? The heel bone.
So, yep, heel bone was the answer to that one. Thank you, Carmel. Question 8, in a computer file name, what do the letters PDF stand for? And that's a portable document format, PDF. Question 9, E equals mc squared. C is the speed of light. And question 10, how many characters are there in a tweet? Currently there's 280 characters allowed. Originally, when Twitter started first, only 140 were allowed. So that was then doubled, I think, 2 years ago. So apparently you can put 280. I'm not into tweeting myself much, so I don't know that much about it, but 280 apparently is the answer. Okay, so that's end of round 5, and then our final round was general knowledge. We have 10 answers to go, so let's get started. The first one was, which country is the archaeological site Petra located? And that's in Jordan, in the Middle East. Question 2 was the Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros. He is from Ethiopia, a former health minister, I think. Question 3, in English, what is anthropophagy better known as? It's cannibalism. And I have to thank a long-time Portuguese friend of mine for that one, who spoke once about anthropophagy, and I was about to correct him that it didn't exist in English, but it does. But we usually use the word cannibalism. Question 4, Ceylon is now known as Sri Lanka. So many of you will be familiar with Ceylon tea, but it's now called Sri Lanka. Question 5, Bill Clinton followed George H.W. Bush in 1993 as US President. Question 7, the author of War and Peace is Leo Tolstoy. Question 7, yes, we're going a bit from the sublime to the ridiculous here. Kim Kardashian was the lady who was married to Chris Humphries very briefly and is now married to Kanye West, or at least she was, I think, on Saturday when I checked the answer to this question. Who knows what might be the situation today? Question 8 was the Kenyan actress, so let's check in with Florence, the answer to this question.
The answer is 12 years a slave.
So yes, the answer was 12 years a slave. Question 9, Beethoven is the composer of Ode to Joy, which is part of his Symphony No. 9. And I believe he was deaf by the time he composed the symphony, so yeah, some man, I would say. And the last question for tonight, question 10, if you're climbing Kilimanjaro, you would be in Tanzania, the next door neighbor to Kenya. And no, I haven't been there, and I don't think I will be climbing Kilimanjaro, although some of you watching may have been on the top of Kili. So that's it. So give yourselves a great round of applause, all of you. We're delighted that you were able to join us. We hope you had a little bit of fun over the last hour or so. So whether you answered 2 questions, and I don't think you did because most of you seem to be scoring in the high 20s. Remember, 61 was the maximum score because you got the extra point if you got the names of the countries around Kenya. So yes, it's been fun putting this together, and thank you for the chat. It's good to know there's people out there and that we haven't been just talking to each other. So Carmel is here as well to say hello or say goodbye.
Hello and thank you. Hope you did well.
So yes, she was part of the backroom team helping put all of this together. And yes, so again, also thanks to the people at Brighter Communities for their support, and in particular to John, to Salim and Florence, who asked those questions in Londiani, all the way in the Western Highlands of Kenya. So fair dues to them for taking part in this. We really appreciate it because we know you're very busy with the various projects and with the COVID response. And a big shout out to Maria and Martin if they're listening in, because we know that they're in Kenya doing great work on the response to COVID in Kenya, where things are pretty harsh. So well done to you guys. And as I said, if you are able to afford to donate anything to Brighter Communities, we would all be delighted because they do fantastic work. If you can't, I just hope you enjoyed the quiz. It was a bit of fun, hopefully, for everybody. So on that note, we'd like to say goodbye, and not sure if we'll see you again. Maybe the second is our last quiz, but who knows? So good night to everybody.
And don't forget to post your answers.
Yes, or how you got on. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.